Hey, it is the 7th anniversary special for Trekland Tuesdays Live. Can you believe it? With special guests. Of course, this calls for special guests. Hey, Star Trek composer Jay Chattaway and DS9 producer Terri Potts-Chattaway. We're going to be talking about their new book about Jay's life. It's a special day, a special 7. And all here, it helps if you introduce the show, right? On Trekland Tuesdays Live with Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek. Yeah, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 and TreklandTreks.com. I'm so excited. I can't hide it. Yeah, your customized away mission. Get in touch with me for your own special away day in Southern California at real actual Star Trek location sites. You ready? You ready for some sanity, clarity, and the big picture in a lot of Star Trek? Yes. We're having a great day today. I cannot believe it's been 7 years. I want to thank everybody out there in our Trekland Tuesdays Live committee and all of them that have found us now by YouTube. I mean, Facebook was fine back in the days when everyone said, "Hey, Larry, you should be live on Facebook." And I'm like, should I do Facebook Live or should I do Telescope? I mean, that's how far back this goes. And we decided Facebook Live. And the days when I was hand holding a camera early on, and then we were on a tripod, and anyway, the ancient days of live streaming, and then, oh, you should be on YouTube, and pandemic comes and everybody knows what virtual is if they weren't lives. It's been a long road getting from there to here. And I think my guest might be chuckling at that. So I just want to say it's been an amazing 7 years. Thanks to Scott for the cool graphic, for our anniversary graphic. Thanks to all of you for being here. If you are watching us later on YouTube, that's awesome. Someday, I hope you can join us on a Tuesday afternoon live here in the States or wherever you're coming from around the world, too. And whenever you're watching us live or later, please comment. Even later on, please drop a comment. And we've had some great debates and topics, too. Now, this is a guest day. So we're going to be our atypical format, our guest format. So not so much the split, topic and then chat afterwards. I'll try to dip into the chat as we go along. We got a half hour or so with our guests, and they've got an exciting thing to share with you today. So aside from their lives in Trek and their lives elsewhere, obviously, but without further delay, let's do that. So yes, everybody, the chat is working. I'm not going to get to it after we have our guest time. Okay. So the show will be it for today. That's plenty, I think. And once again, thanks everybody for joining us for 7 years of the Trek Files. Yeah, no, that's 6 years coming up, but it's 7 years for Trekland Tuesdays Live. And without further ado, gang, let's bring them in. I'm so thrilled to have them join us. I'm thrilled that they're getting their thoughts and memories down. I'm thrilled when any Trek creative gets their stuff down on paper. So it takes all the pressure off of me and my 20-year-old interviews or whatever, or 5-minute-old interviews. But let's bring in, coming direct from their home. Look, it's Terri and Jay, Terri Potts-Chattaway and Jay Chattaway. Yes.
Hi.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody, listen, Jay, Terri did 116 episodes of DS9, okay? She also worked on the Star Trek Borg and Klingon video games. Yes, she was an assistant before that on Next Generation, I believe. Jay, listen to this, the Emmy-winning Jay. Guess, and we'll do a trivia here what he won his Emmy for, but Jay has his credits. He had 42 Next Generations, 59 DS9s, 54 Voyagers, and 28 Enterprises, if I can believe IMDb. 4 times nominated Emmys, a lot of other nominations and wins, and an Emmy for, I don't know if I should even ask the chat if they know, because they'll be running and looking. And tell us what it was for, Jay.
It was for the finale of Star Trek Voyager.
Yes, it was for Endgame. Right. Not for The Inner Light, which we should, go back to. We'll pick up on that. But anyway, it's so great to have, and most of all, it is so cool that the story of your life, as written by Terri, is now out. So tell us real quick. I want to get into a lot more, but just off the top of here, tell us about the book, when it's coming, how people can get it.
Okay. Journey to the Inner Light is on pre-order now. So you can order it from your local bookstore, or you can order it online from Amazon or bookshop.org, Barnes & Noble. There's a whole plethora of book sources for it.
Okay.
And this is Jay's life, from where he started when he grew up in a small town in Monongahela. And it's written, Journey to the Inner Light is based on, it is beginning and ending of his story getting to journey to the best performance, I think, which was at Royal Albert Hall in 2015 when he got to conduct the London Philharmonic Orchestra. And so it's that story. We begin with a little tease about that night, and then we go back to his life story and his career, basically, also his other passion, sailing, and end up with that very night that he conducted the London Philharmonic.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So as a bookend. Yeah.
Yes.
So
they're bookends. Exactly.
Well, now, so it's his whole career, his whole life, with that as kind of a beginning and end. And you mentioned Monongahela, Pennsylvania, so Three Rivers country up there, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Very good.
Well, there's so many cool stories. So you guys both had your Star Trek. I danced through it there very quickly. Can I just jump back, and how did you guys meet and start dating and
Okay, so I'm gonna tell this story.
You can tell the story.
So
You wrote the book.
no, it was really interesting because I was an assistant to Rick Berman, and it was Next Generation. And I was used to people coming through my office all the time, walking past, because it was directors and producers and actors and whatever, because Rick had to approve everything. And there was meetings, right by my desk. So Jay walked by his first meeting, and I noticed him, which was really strange to me in hindsight, because why? It was just like he was no different than anybody else. Of course I was. I happened to notice him. And then what happened was I worked my way up from Next Generation and went on to Deep Space Nine, worked my way up to co-producer, and ended up on the scoring stage in the booth. And one day, you should take over. You heard my voice.
Oh, yeah. I figured, oh, great. Somebody else trying to tell me how to do my music. So
yeah,
that was her. And she was very, very helpful, and she listened. And it was quite complicated. For those who don't know about how those sessions work, we have a large orchestra. I've mostly just finished the music the night before, and I'm conducting it. And she's in the booth listening to the dialogue in one ear, the music in the other ear, and the cacophony that's going on in the recording room. And if they had another ear, that's where that would come. And it's complicated, and she has to be the judge of how the music is going to fit with stuff that she already knows the sound effect people are doing. And
right.
I should mention too that these shows are never finished in time when we're doing the music. While I'm writing the music, the visual effects people are making the Klingon battle, sight unseen to me or to Terri. And so the big denouement is when we see the show the first time while we're scoring the music. And so all of a sudden, all this information is new, and we have to react to it. And that is a good foundation for starting a relationship.
Well, it didn't start until after the show ended. So let's
I
be
meant
clear.
a professional relationship, like take the symbols out or something like that.
Right. I didn't do that. That was not
That
me.
was somebody else,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I must say, we developed these cool little things. Like I'd always put something in the music that I knew was going to be distasteful, so that people had something to say to take it out. So therefore, they had another importance.
You were giving her job security? Is that to make sure it wasn't too perfect?
Not really. She didn't need job security from me.
I didn't bite.
Yeah, I know. She was kind of my boss, and she watched me conduct from behind for 7 years, and then
right.
I turned around, and that was that.
So what really piqued my interest with Jay is when we started recording Jimmy Darren. And on the holodeck, and we were doing jazz pieces. And so I saw this man go from like a very rigid, classically trained conductor to this guy just grooving with a band. And I thought, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Serve you right for boxing up people in their music boxes, right?
Pardon me?
I said that serves you right for boxing him up into a music box and not thinking.
Right.
Right.
Right, exactly. Well, I had no idea his resume and his background. And so that's one of the things I hope people discover when they read the book is there's, he's known for his Star Trek scores. He's known for a lot of different areas, his action adventure, but his jazz is very extensive as well. So there's a lot of good stories in there, not just of Star Trek, but there's a lot of Star Trek as well.
Well, again, we can. Yes, I was going to say. Obviously, you did something before 1987, 80. What was the first season? It was third season. Your audition piece was Tin Man, I guess, and then they went, okay, yeah.
That's very good. You did write the book too.
No. I'm looking at Memory Alpha and IMDb. Are you kidding? No.
Oh, okay.
I knew that. I wrote that down back in the day, whatever, but we all need a little refresher. So
okay.
I'm just sitting there thinking how it's great that once again, Vic Fontaine was responsible for another love story in a way.
Right. That's a good point.
And he was clairvoyant. So that's it. He must have known.
That's an awesome story. Totally understood. So you had what, 5-6 seasons on DS9, Terri?
All the seasons, 7.
Oh, all of them. Okay. Yeah. We need to say they're not crediting you with some because they've only got 116. So I'm always finding where people don't have their full credits on IMDb because someone's strictly going on credits.
I was Martinez before I was Potts.
Oh, that's right. So
I think that's why.
That would do. Well, we need to fix that. So I say the Berman era ended. You were off DS9. Jay, you were still writing on Enterprise through 2005. Doing other work too. When did your relationship take off though? Before that or after Trek was over?
Yeah, we've been together for over 20 years. So it was in early 2000s.
Okay.
After Star Trek, we started. It was on and off again for a long time, but yeah. And I guess around 2002 we started living together. So yeah.
Well,
a long time.
Where along the way, because I can see that, but I'll just say where along the way what's the story of the book? This is Jay's life as a young boy where he's born in rural and Pennsylvania born, but went to West Virginia.
Virginia, University of West Virginia.
Right.
Yeah, Mountaineers.
Mountaineers. But what it is he took me on a tour of his past, basically. So we visited everywhere. He took me to his hometown. We met a bunch of people there. His first teacher, mentor, who was really instrumental, Mr. Robert Rossi.
No pun intended.
and then we went to Morgantown. We went to New York City. We went to Cuba. We went everywhere except Switzerland.
Oh yeah,
darn!
I've been there.
We did not go to Switzerland. But so it's a tour. It's basically he took me on a tour of his past, and I interviewed over 50 colleagues and friends and family. And Jay keeps a wealth of memorabilia. It was so I had a lot of resources just right there in his box of memorabilia.
Yeah.
How long did it take? I mean, when did you start? I guess I should say. Like, let's back up even more. What was the impetus? When did you finally say, "Oh my God, I need to write this down"?
I was looking for a book to write. A story. I wanted to try it because I was a producer, not a writer, as my career. But I started out writing poetry and other things, and Jay was very encouraging of me, and so I really wanted to write a story, And then I was standing in the living room and I looked at Jay, and there he was with his umpteenth interview on the phone. And I thought, well, people want to hear his story. That's the story I should tell. And he was very hesitant at first. But we had some friends who we tried it out on and the idea, and they were very positive. And so he finally acquiesced. He said, okay, but it took me 8 years. Because, it wasn't a full-time job. I had a life to live as well. But, 8 years of a lot of research and a lot of interviews. and a lot of interviews of Jay.
We're having a ceremonial burning of the tape recorder.
Oh no, you can't do that. You can't do that to future history. So Jay, she said you had some qualms. Was it qualms as in, oh no, we live together, we'll get in a fight about this? Or was it that because this was your first book, right, Terri?
Right.
Yeah. Was it, oh gosh, do I want a rookie to write this? Or was it, oh no, I don't want to live with the person analyzing every bit of what were your qualms?
Well, actually, other people had approached me about writing it. And I wasn't too keen on the idea. I mean, music and creation of music is very personal. And I didn't know if I wanted to share that with the universe.
Oh, you snobby artists. I tell you. These elite artists, I tell you.
I know, but it's not a secret, but it sort of is a secret, and how it happens. And I don't know if I wanted to expose it all. I mean, it's pretty kinky how I conceive music. So if she knows, because she lives with me, and it's pretty weird. But it's a special occasion, and it happens when it can happen. But I said, okay, as long as I get to read some of it, in progress. And she didn't let me read anything until she'd finished a section.
No, well, a whole draft.
A draft, yeah.
Yeah.
So
whole draft, and then he would check it. Yeah, he would read it through, and there's probably at least 30 drafts. I mean, there is a lot of drafts, but he read maybe 10 of them. Probably.
When you say draft, you said something about did you mean chapter by chapter drafts or the whole thing completed?
The whole book.
Okay, so each draft is read the whole.
Yeah, it was pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that.
I'm thank you for sending it to me. It's many chapters, and here's, I maybe I should have rigged it for visuals, but if I'm looking at your chapter titles.
Right.
The three, you start off when he was young, 3 Rivers, Family Life in Monongahela, The Birthing of a Composer, Rhapsody of the Seasons. That's interesting. And then going to West Virginia, and then your Navy years, I should mention that, Mike Sure. New York City and a hit record. I want to ask you about that in a second. The record business, this is all the pre-Trek years. Obviously, people just, all the Trek creatives didn't just, very few of them just rolled out of bed and got their first job on Star Trek.
Right. One interesting aside, during the record time, and it was just complete accidental choice of music, but I was recording a jazz artist, and I had big success in doing a soundtrack theme. My first album I produced was the theme from Rocky. So that was my first album. Yeah. My first album was a gold record and got a Grammy nomination. So therefore, we decided to do more themes. And one of the themes I chose was the theme from the original Star Trek series for Maynard Ferguson, the trumpet player. And it was sort of a hit record for a while. That was pretty cool.
There was that time, and it wasn't disco, but there was that whole explosion when everybody was recording soundtracks and famous themes. And
it was danceable. I wouldn't call it disco, but it was.
My memory goes to the wacky disco, but you're right. Yeah, there were all different kinds, but people were kind of discovering sound, and the nostalgia wave was coming in, and people were looking at the 50s and 60s and 70s. And themes were a theme. What was that was the hit record here?
Yes, that was the hit record because the story basically is that you were working for CBS Records at the time, and he was brand new, and somebody suggested he go see this sleeper film called Rocky, and this is
before it blew up. This is when it was just
right. It was not a huge film when it opened.
Right, and so when he went to the he had Maynard Ferguson record it, and he arranged it. And tell them about that.
We had the album finished, and it was the album called Conquistador, and it was all finished. Wasn't released yet, but I went to see this film, and I heard the theme that Bill Conti wrote, which is a really cool theme. But it was kind of slow and wasn't really danceable and whatever. And our record was a little more high energy. And so we went in to record it. And instead of recording it normally with like the jazz people, I used an entire pop rhythm section and recorded the tracks. And Maynard flew in and played his part. And I played it for the executives at Columbia CBS Records, and they went nuts. They said, "No, this is a hit record." So they worked it. It became a hit record, sold gazillion copies, and Bill Conti thanks me every day. So it's good. And we're friends. We're fellow boaters, incidentally. So yeah.
This is back when it wasn't just the music industry; it was the record industry, because there was the whole infrastructure before, right?
Oh yeah.
Pre-NAP.
My education was at CBS Records. I mean, other than my formal education, yeah.
Oh. See, but this is, like I said, very rarely do people show up at Star Trek as overnight successes. There's been a lot of work put into their craft and their guild, all of that, and then to the big score, your career. Okay, so scoring, and then the Star Trek years, and then you've got chapters here about personal life, things changing, rhythms of life after Star Trek, and your sailing love, and then coming full circle back to the Royal Albert Hall concert 2015. They need to have you at Vegas. You've done a Vegas?
Well, interesting you should say that, because we are going to be in Vegas on August 3rd.
Oh, okay. Wait, first time or repeat?
No, it's second time for me.
Okay.
I've done several other conventions, musically speaking.
In LA, right?
At Pasadena, and Pasadena.
Oh,
yeah, I guess it's
the Grand Slams those days.
Maybe it was.
Yes,
early. It was. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm conducting the Nevada Pops along with Jeff Russo, and I think that's just the two of us. I'm not sure, but I'll do the Inner Light there. Terry's going to be there
with the book,
with some books to sell.
Yeah.
And,
I hope so. It's like, oh gosh, forgot the books. Because remind us once again, because I want to ask you something too about this. So the pre-sales are on now, and it's officially out. What day?
June 15th. June 15th.
Right, June 15th. So Amazon, and you're into brick and mortar stores also.
Yes.
Yes.
You said awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Some of the chains, or like what?
Well, you'd have to go in and ask to have it pre-ordered.
Okay.
Definitely here in Edgartown, where on Martha's Vineyard, our Edgartown Books is really supportive of local authors. So we'll be in that store. We're hoping to get into some stores in LA. We haven't approached them yet, but that's our next project.
Well, it's a great title, Journey to the Inner Light. And I'm guessing I know what this is referring to. I mean, was it a whole process to come up with the title, or did that spring to mind?
No, it took me forever to come up with a title that was decent. And then I don't know how that really came up. It just came up one day. But it's also twofold. The Journey to the Inner Light is yes, his journey to that, place of success, what that journey to the inner light has brought for him. But also it's, Journey to the Inner Light is sort of talking about where does the muse come from? Where does journey to that place where Jay gets the music
process.
Because that's one of the things that people want to know is, where does the music come from?
That's where the music takes me, and this is the prequel to That's Where the Music Takes Me. This is, where did the music come from? Well, the Inner Light is here. So, I mean, I'm going to guess, I don't know, Jay, has that been the most reaction to all your Trek work, at least? I mean, when people see you, and if the people who are up on your credits, or they know, what have you had the most reaction to, would you say?
Well, it's the Inner Light for sure.
That's
become the anthem, so to speak, and people use it for everything from graduations to funerals to marriages and weddings,
or play for their kids when they go to sleep at night.
Yeah.
We actually had a friend listen to it as she passed, and her husband said that's what she wanted to hear, and that was so touching to us. I mean, I get goosebumps even thinking about it. She asked to have that play.
These were good friends of yours.
Yeah.
Dear friends.
Yeah.
And
wow.
When you think about it, the genesis of that, and from the episode, I don't know if you want to dive deep into that.
We can do that a little bit. Yeah. I was going to ask you what well, part of this is, like, at the time, was it just another episode to you, or did you go, this is really kind of this is going to be big, or I don't care what happens to it. This is an amazing episode. Just looking at the script and knowing what the story. I mean, what was your goal?
The way it works is that we get a script about 3 weeks maybe before they start doing edits of the show. So I read that script and I said, wow, this was pretty profound. And turns out that Peter Lauritsen was directing it. It's one of the few that he has directed. And it's an amazing thought to think that somebody can live an entire life in 50 minutes, which is what happens to Patrick Stewart.
Or 3 seconds.
Or yes.
Yeah, it was seconds, I
Right.
think, in the
So,
story. Yeah.
So he goes, well, everybody knows the story, but he goes to another planet. He gets beamed out for this probe, and he lives his whole lifetime there in the space of the episode. He has a child who incidentally was one of the people who also played the penny whistle in that episode, was his real son, a wife, and he was a scientist, and he wanted to help. They wanted to help preserve their culture because their planet was dying. It was the sun was drying everything up, and there are no plants and everything. It was a fascinating story.
But why the penny whistle?
Why the penny whistle? Okay, I can show you. I'm not going to play it because it's not too good. But the penny whistle. When you think about shooting a film, a transverse flute comes across your face like this. So you can't really get into the person's face, but when you play a penny whistle, it's like this. So it's much more visible. And actually, the writer, Morgan Gendel, mentioned the flute should be there, but also this was a planet where metallurgy and metalwork was a big factor. So something had to be metal. It was not going to be a tuba, that's for sure. So we chose the penny whistle, and it was a very simplistic instrument. It can't play that many notes, so it can't be a complicated, ultra complicated piece of music.
Right.
So that's where the penny whistle came in.
But one of the things Jay loved about this particular episode is that he got to write a melody, right?
Okay. Right. Well, if you watch, I'm sure, well, but the people who are listening, here's how it works. So they shake the camera a little bit, which means something's bad going to happen. And then, pow, some music has to come in, and it's kind of dissonant. So for 16 years, I wrote a lot of dissonant music. Yeah. And but this episode was not like that. This was sort of this is a consonant moment. And to write some music that has meaning, that might have longevity, was a challenge. But because of that, this piece of music came instantly. I mean, maybe 10 minutes. 10 minutes to write that piece. And
when you say this music, you mean just the basic, the interlight melody?
Yeah, the theme, the penny whistle theme.
Right,
yeah.
the main, right.
Yeah. And it just happened, it just came, from that mysterious place that music comes from. This is what her book is about. Like, where does it come from? Mm-hmm. Why don't you expand on that?
Well, Jay, one of the things that Jay has done is he's dreamt the music, and it comes to him. And then one time he told me, which was really interesting, that when he watched a show, because when we would on Star Trek, when we would have a locked video, there was no music in it, none. And so we would look at it without music and decide where the music would go. And in most instances in other films and other television shows, the editor always puts music in, which then people want to, once they hear that, they can't hear anything else. And so it's not as, I don't think it's gives the composer the ability to be so creative. But that aside, Jay said that sometimes when he watches it, a video, he hears the music as it's playing, as the video is playing. So for him, the trouble has been how to get it written down fast enough, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a whole lot of notes. We're writing for a whole orchestra, like 35 to 50 musicians of all different kind of instruments. So to score that and write it all down is very time consuming. I mean, maybe 3 minutes a day, if we're lucky to write a score that might have 30 minutes of music. That's 10 days of serious writing, 8 to 10 hours a day. If you don't feel good one day, you got to write twice as much music the next day. So it's quite a challenge to crank out that much music and have it not repeat itself too much. And it's a time-consuming effort. The payoff, of course, is then to come in and conduct the orchestra, and that's like I'd stay up for 3 nights a week to do that because it's amazing. It's the most amazing experience ever. It's addictive.
One of the things I want to mention, which is a little, this goes away from that, but you were mentioning the titles of the chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Each title is either a piece that Jay wrote. So Rhapsody of the Seasons, which you questioned,
Oh, okay.
that was his first piece that he ever wrote in high school. So each piece is either he wrote or arranged, or it was a film score. And then at the end of the book, he comments on each of the chapter titles. So to let people know how that came about, what it was about.
Awesome. So, okay. Well, that's cool. That's, yes, very nice way to personalize all of this. Well, I kind of glossed over this and we kind of laughed about it a little bit, but was there, I don't know. I know there's times when a couple, like one has written a book about the other, whatever, but I mean, did you, as you sat down to really do this, or you were trying to convince Jay to let you do the book, did you say, look, and did you research other places where one member of the couple had written the book about their partner, their spouse? And did you have any like little bumpy head parts?
Yeah.
As you wrote.
Okay.
Like that has to be in. Oh no, that's not important. I mean, like what,
There's a few times, yes. I'll get to that in a minute, but I only found one book. And it was Sophisticated Giant, and it was about Dexter Gordon, written by Maxine Gordon. Dexter Gordon, the famous saxophonist. He was writing his autobiography, and he passed away. So I guess he asked her if she would complete it. So when I read that and I looked at that, I thought, okay, it can be done. And part of the challenge was, I wasn't in his life for the first half of his life, and the second half I am. So how do I have my voice consistent through the book, which, I hope I do. And I wanted it personal, that we were approached by academic, universities who wanted it, but they wanted an academic approach. And we did not want that. So we were in sync on that. There were a few times when he would suggest something and I would outright say, no, it can't.
It's sort of like my music when I'm scoring the show.
But it would like break up the story, or it's not necessary, or what. But for the most part, I was very nervous about writing it, to be honest with you, for the longest time, because it's not a salacious.
You're feeling the weight.
Tell-all. Right. It's about his life, and I wanted to tell it honestly without getting too personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I towed that line, but it was nerve-wracking, and it's a lot of weight but ultimately I wanted to do it as a gift to Jay to carry, and to his it's dedicated to his grandchildren, so that they carry their grandpa's legacy forward.
That's awesome. Yeah. For James, Jason, William, Brandon, and Ash. That's grandchildren. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, in that process, I said, did you all have any disagreements? And you said you only knew him for half his life. Were you surprised by something that came up?
Oh.
No, actually, well, I mean, there was lots of new information. But the one thing is going back to watching him be a jazz man on Star Trek, like that was the biggest surprise for me, because it showed me a whole different side of Jay, which I was interested in seeing after he started loosening up, should I say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, this is, I was real close to Michael. I am close to Michael Westmore, and he's another one who is famous for his Star Trek work, but won his Oscar for other thing, and did his, he had a whole Hollywood. So aside from Star Trek, Jay, what what's your favorite? What's your favorite score or piece, or what should we? I mean, we talked about Rocky. Is that it, or is there something else?
No, I've done like a whole bunch of albums and records, and what kind of turned me on to the film world, other than my chance meeting with Henry Mancini in Pittsburgh when I was a student.
Oh.
I was doing
Tell them more about that. I mean, it wasn't a meeting. It was
You
just-
don't name drop Henry Mancini like that, and
yeah.
Well,
and then move on.
why did Henry
my
Mancini ever do
teacher
a Star Trek? That would have been
took
awesome.
me to a concert with the Pittsburgh Symphony. Henry Mancini is conducting, and
This is late 60s.
I thought, wow, I'd really like to be able to do that. And I've already been writing music and stuff. So I sort of said that was the moment that a little light bulb went on in my head. And the coolest thing is that at one incident, we were able to go to the same. It was ASCAP's award dinner where he was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and I was there for some other reason. And I said I have to go talk to him because I want to tell him he lived in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. He was born there, and that's not too far from where I live. So I introduced myself, and I told him that how he's inspired me, and we joked around about, well, maybe there's something in the water in those rivers or something. And we became friends, and I went to his house, and we talked a lot, and he was just a real inspiration and a wonderful gentleman.
And this is you in your college years, young man, young career, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I sort of targeted, that's what I want to do. So that sort of set the things in motion in my brain.
Wow.
And in terms of other records that helped along,
Well, what's your favorite score that you did?
well, my favorite score, other than a record thing, is Stephen King's Silver Bullet,
Okay.
which was a really cool story. It was a big time score because Dino De Laurentiis produced it. Dan Attias had directed, and my friend Dan Lowenthal was the editor. That's how I got the film. They knew who I was. And
Stephen King is your favorite author.
And Stephen King was my favorite author. So, wow, this is going to be great. And it's Corey Haim and Gary Busey, about a little kid in a wheelchair who's crippled, and he believes that the minister in town is a werewolf. And so it was sort of a PG film when it started out, and it wasn't too violent, but Paramount had a big hit with Friday the 13th. So they decided to go in and make it a little more grisly than it started out to be. So it turned out to be a little more grisly than we wanted. But I went to a wolf farm and sampled wolves to become part of my orchestra. And so I had done that on Star Trek with whales.
And we should say sampled as in recorded them. And
yes, digitally recorded wolves. Yeah. And then I could play them on my keyboard. And I had a wolf choir. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so that film was my favorite of the other films I've done. But I was going to mention, if that's okay, it came about. I'd done 3 or 4 albums for Gato Barbieri, who's best known as a tenor sax player, best known for Last Tango in Paris.
Oh, okay.
And so when he did Last Tango, he didn't really score the film. He just wrote a lot of really cool thematic, sensuous music. And Bernardo Bertolucci cut the film, edited the film to his music. So one day he called me up and said, I have this other film to do, and it's already finished. I haven't got a clue as to what to do. And you've done all this music for me and everything. So would you help me? And I said,
but at that time you were a record producer.
I was a record producer, and
right.
Yeah, that was about it.
And you scored some films for the Navy.
Some from the Navy.
But that's it.
And I was doing some advertising work in New York. But
right.
So the film was done, and it was a strange film, but it was a pretty big deal. Sophia Loren, James Coburn, again, the London Philharmonic. And the film was finished. Gato wrote this beautiful theme. He says, can you make it work for all these other moments? And I said, yeah, I could probably do that. I've never done it before. But the key is you have to say you can do it. So I did it. They flew me and the music to London, and I conducted the London Philharmonic. Big screen comes back, and there's Sophia Loren in all of her beauty. And I was hooked. I said, I have to do this. This is it.
And what was that film?
Firepower.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was your first experience, and then come full circle. When we went to London, he was back with the London Philharmonic, and there turned out to be 3 of the guys that were originally on that first one at Firepower. They were also there for the Inner Light, so that was cool.
Yeah.
But I have to interrupt right now because Rockio is talking about Gato and Caliente.
Oh, really?
And that is a cool story.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get.
I was gonna wrap up and then start on the chats, just so everybody knows. I was gonna start rethreading through the chats, but go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, this first of all, Caliente is like by Gato is one of my favorite pieces of music, and I listened to it over and over and over and over again when I first heard that. And what's interesting is cut to many years later when Jay gave me the 6-minute suite of the Inner Light, I did the exact same thing. I listened to it over and over and over. So yeah. So anyway, but he was there when Gato scored, well, when you guys recorded it.
Yes.
You produced it.
Yeah.
But for anybody who, from the Inner Light on down, so many Trek fans beyond people who've seen Rocky, people who have, not aware of the name sometimes until you become a Mancini or something. But for people who've enjoyed the work and to go back and read once again about, the process, not just the process of making it, but the life that led to that process and the mix and how, you didn't fall out of bed writing TV and movie themes. You worked in music, worked in records, you were in the Navy, and, all of that. We all have our lives that contribute so much, even if that's why it kills me when people say, well, is that going to be, I don't need this for my job, or I don't need this for work, or I don't, it's like, we need to be well-rounded because we bring all those threads to anything we do.
Yeah. And
so great. So yay for getting into all that in the book. Yeah.
But also it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff too. If people are interested in how it comes about, and how he writes film scores, for instance, but also about the man behind the music.
Right. Which is what we want. I go back, and we were kidding, Jay, but I remember that back in the day, and I guess it was Enterprise's era, because that's really the height of this. But for Communicator, when I was editing the Communicator, which used to be the official magazine, I followed you around for a day and actually went over to a recording session. Now the stage is gone. They tore it down at Paramount. The old it's all gone for offices. But that was a lot of. I've still got the photos from that day and the shoot, and it was something unusual because you had some. Or I forget now what episode it was. I should go back and research this. But there was a guy back in the back had some weird percussion things that they were playing for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have one of the percussionists was Alan Valver, and he had like a tractor trailer full of stuff. And one instrument was the insides out of a grand piano that he would beat with sledgehammers. And it was awesome. Kind of hard to march with it, but you could carry it, you could lay it down. We also used alpenhorns once for Klingons, those big long horns that they play on the Ricola cough drop commercial. And they actually didn't record all that great, so we replaced them with French horns. But it was a blast doing that show. I mean, it was just, and I miss it a lot. So
yeah.
So I want to say congratulations to you for 7 years. Amazing.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, Terry. I mean, I was laughing because I've been on to Jay for a couple of years to come on Portal, and I'm gradually getting around to as many people as I can, because my thought is that when I do Portal 47, everybody has a story to. If you're a Star Trek fan, it's one thing. Obviously, you watch the show, you get into it because of the story and the actors and everything on the surface, and of course that's what entertainment is. But if there's something about Star Trek that has grabbed you, then you want to know how you can. And if you're going to watch a show 4 or 5 or 82 times or 47 times, the more you can get into it, the better. If you're going to go down that path and be that much of a fan and appreciate the details, and when you get to that level, sure, the head writer or the visual effects artist or but everybody there, or even if they weren't, like craft service or whatever, if they didn't contribute to what's on film, but they were there in the vibe and can tell stories, and not just either tabloidy or just goofy anecdote. And those are fun, but I mean just a sense of who the people were. And like and someone said, when you see all the names in the credits and all the 3/4 of the crew who aren't in the credits, or at least used to be, now everybody's in the credits, I feel like.
Yeah.
And a lot of like people who should have been in credits now get credited, but like my wife was, she was never in, and now they do. Everybody in their dog walkers, next door neighbor's dentist is in the credits now.
Right.
Well,
All those people not only had something to contribute, but they can share. If it's a piece that is now gone by, if it's the Next Gen or DS9 or the original series, if it's gone by, we can't recreate that now, and a lot of the people are gone, and we've got people to talk about them and make it firsthand, and not just, I'm going to read one more book or an interview from 20 years ago. Anyway, so to me, it's all good, and it all contributes to, there's not 5 billion people watching us today, but for the people who are, or they'll see it soon, or for the folks who are in Portal 47 or whatever, that's going to add to their depth. And so, so everybody, so I'm looking forward to having you guys on Portal 47, and we can go deeper. But even then, it's not about trivia. It's just, sharing and then having the memory triggers, because that gets things going too.
Well, I worked for Rick Berman. I came from the beginning. We moved over from the corporate side started, and we were there. I was there for the whole thing. So yeah.
The whole startup time
and saw that other people didn't see.
Yes.
So
and it wasn't quite a well-oiled machine in those days either. Yeah.
It became one, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, that's the phrase we use. But I mean, the first couple of Listen, well, it's been and I can't. Maybe we can get into that when we do our Portal 47 hour, because that's awesome. But I'm so excited for you. Let's look at the book one more time. I've had you an hour now, so there we go. Journey to the Inner Light, everybody. It's probably sitting in your chair. You can get it on Amazon. But if you want to go down and if people want to support a local store, I guess they can go down and order it. You were saying?
Yep.
Why don't you run through all your preferred ways for people to get a copy?
Well, I love supporting local independent bookstores. That would be my first choice. Then bookshop.org is also another great online service that you can get that. And then, the ease of Amazon, of course, or Barnes and Noble. So it's all there. There's
it's also electronic too.
There's a hard copy, there's a paperback, and there's an electronic version. So
wait, electronic as in audio or
not audio?
Oh,
no.
digital.
No, but there is I think one thing she did that was very cool is towards the end of the book, it's instead of a bibliography, she has all my films, all my recordings, all my concert works, all my jazz compositions are all annotated and where you can find them.
Right.
So it's pretty cool.
Good. Okay, great. Because one thing, there is a huge overlap in Trek world. There's a huge audiophile, sound, Jeff Bond's books have gotten people down that way. And a lot of folks are big students of Trek music. And whether they overlap with film scores beyond that in the music world, or whether they're just Trek fans who really appreciate and they get into the Trek music, but that'll be a huge key for them too. So great.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you guys, thank you. And Terri, thank you so much for your kind words. I got off track there a little bit, but that's kind of my juice, is to bring voice. And so many people saying it's so thrilling to see the faces of people we see their names. I said, well, that's what I do. That's what because you guys all have so much. Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It has been. And so I've been on to Jay for 2 or 3 years to come on. And when I kind of recycled back around and said, hey, you want to come on? And you jumped in and said, we have a book. I'm like, yay. Okay. That's awesome. So we'll do what we can to help that out. And then we can go deeper later. But thanks again, you guys. And thanks for
thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you to your audience.
And yes, and great questions. Some of this, the Yacht Club and everybody else who were extra to our normal TTLers today.
Okay.
All right.
So thanks. So I'll let you go. Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
I want to thank for helping all over again. Hey, our TTL Club. This is our Patreon folks. So yes, thank you, Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Justin Porteous, Galinda Bruton, Chris Jiggins, Pranakasha Productions, Comedy Forecast, and Andrew Jazimski, and our live wires. Our TTL live wires, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Hubbard Gunjonson, Alan Hoenzi, Dave Gregory, Tobias Rex, Donna S. Runyon, Greg Wickstrom, and Casey Shatsky. Thanks so much, guys. And if you are watching us, maybe for the first time, and you want to help out with all things Trekland here on our channel, I have a very simple, ridiculously simple Patreon, just $5, $10 a month. You can go up if you want to beyond that, but that's patreon.com/Trekland Live. You know how Patreon works. That is awesome. If you really want to help us out, you heard me mention Portal 47. I would love for you to dive in. So now we've got Terry and we've got Jay separately in the bullpen now for coming months, as soon as we can work out a date on the Portal side of things. I do want to say also, speaking of, that our Trek Files podcast on Roddenberry, we're on hiatus right now, coming out of the 11th season, 2 seasons a year, coming into our 12th. It's going to be awesome in a few weeks. We're working on exactly when our return date is right now. But there's 11 seasons, 24 episodes. They're short, 15, 20, 30 minutes at most of the Trek Files, all that time. And speaking of backstage creatives and folks in the industry, folks related to people in the industry and Star Trek family, it's audio, but it's all there at our Trek Files page. You can get it wherever your podcast is. But if you want the documents, the actual Trek Files, you have to go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Trek Files. And of course, we're getting into warm weather. It's perfect time to come to LA and take you pick the sites with me. I will get you there. We will support your day. You'll have an awesome time on your own custom away mission at 50 plus sites. Well, not 50. You pick from 50. We go to 4 in a day. Get in touch with me if that's of interest to you. The Trekland Treks takes no hiatus. The door is always open, depending on when you're in town and you want to do it. Other than that, gang, we're going to call it a wrap for a awesome 7th anniversary season. Here I am. It's, if you're on Twitter X still, it's at Larry Nemecek. Same thing for all the Twitter wannabes. If they're ever going to take off, Blue Sky and Mastodon and all of those. Larry Nemecek's Trekland. Please like and subscribe if you're on YouTube and you haven't seen us before. Please subscribe and share it. And yeah, Facebook and Instagram too. And Portal 47, if you really enjoyed the hint of what we did today and what we enjoy doing, go over and check out portal47.net. It's a whole package. The guest night is the climax every month, but everything is about behind the scenes, the creatives, the business side of Trek, keeping up with the headlines, going back to my arsenal of archive and all that for the last 30, 40 years. And yeah, background in fandom too. I know the language. And I think that's going to do it. Guys, gals, peeps, hey, everybody, listen, thanks for joining us on this show. We'll see you back next week. If you're watching live, if you're watching us later, clink the bell, ring the bell, do all the things. Comment below, please do. And, there's still things out there in the air. So please stay healthy, do all the things. Please stay woke, check the sources, make sure things are going to get thick out there this year. Watch out for the deep fakes and all of that. Just be open to know when something is not true or when it's something you've never been told in your life and it's new. That's my definitions. Stay smart out there. And yeah, Trek well, everybody.